Camilla from the Sewing Society, and in this video I'm going to be making these really beautiful bag charms. So I have a few birthdays coming up and I really wanted to make something, but something a little bit different. So I went on a little hunt and I discovered the beautiful Sister Mag Pattern Company. If you haven't heard of them before, please go and check them out. They've got the most beautiful patterns. They're based in Berlin and they did a collaboration with a bag company called La Porta. I think I'm saying that right. I'll put a link to both of those in the description or on the screen. And I saw a post where they had beautiful bag charms and I thought, surely not, then you can't make those. Especially out of leather. I don't have any leather tools, but I was able to make the bag charms without any special tools, but you do need like a really sharp blade. I have a few sewing friends that love making bags, so if you're one of those people, maybe you already have all the bits and bobs that they talk about in the instructions, but if not, don't worry, I didn't have any of the paraphernalia and I still made them, and it was really quite quick and easy. I had some leather scraps and they're sort of in more neutral tones. They would look so pretty in all sorts of colors. You could really go to town. You don't necessarily need to use leather. You could use a vinyl or a thick felt or some kind of fabric that doesn't fray, that has a bit of structure to it to hold the shape. You could even try using a woven fabric that is, you know, really sturdy, but to stop it from fraying, you could do like a line of stitching around the edge to help with any fraying, because I think the fraying could look quite nice and add a bit of texture and a bit of interest to the flowers. So yeah, that's an option too. I think there's lots of scope to experiment and try different things. I think I'm going to be making heaps of these. They're really pretty. They look so nice on my bag. I've been getting around town with them. They feel quite special and just something a little bit different. Okay, let's get started. To make these bag charms, you'll need a copy of the pattern. I'll put a link in the description below. Some leather fabric scraps, some fabric glue, top stitching thread, a blade, some fabric scissors, a metal ruler, something to mark your fabric with, and an awl. First up, we're going to trace out the pattern. I'm doing everything on the wrong side, so you won't see any pen marks on the right side. Then, using the awl, we need to mark in the stitch holes and also the cut mark for the petals. I went back over my awl markings with a pen so that I could see them a bit better. Because I'm using suede, the holes just kind of disappeared. Even though they're still there, I couldn't see them. Now, using a really sharp blade, we're going to cut out the outline of the flower. You could use a really sharp pair of scissors for this too if you don't have a blade. Using the metal ruler as a guide, we need to cut through to make petals, using the markings as a guide. Next, we need to cut a small hole in the center of the flower so we can thread the cord through. I just did this freehand with the blade. It was a little bit tricky, so then once I'd made the initial cuts, I used some snips to complete the hole. Then I went back in with the awl to make the stitch holes more prominent. Before sewing up the petals, I also trimmed away some of the fluffy edges to neaten things up a little bit. Now we need to make the cord. The pattern calls for quite long cord, but my leather wasn't big enough to do that. So I'm just using what I have. I am able to make cord long enough if I tie a couple of pieces together. So my pieces here are going to be approximately 34 centimeters long and about half a centimeter wide. That's approximately 13 inches by 1/4 of an inch. I cut 2 of these pieces and that was enough to make my cord long enough to then tie around my bag handle. Now it's time to stitch the petals in place, and this is when it all starts to take shape. Thread your needle with a double up of top stitching thread. This will make it nice and strong. On each petal there are 2 lots of stitching holes. On one side of the petal, they're a little bit further away from the edge. Starting with those, from the underside, thread through one of the holes to the right side. Leave a tail of thread just long enough to be able to tie a knot at the end. Then thread the needle through the underside of the petal next to it, lining up the stitch holes. Then come back down and through to the other 2 holes. And then repeat that process so that it's done twice. Then tie off the thread with a couple of knots. Repeat this until you've stitched all of the petals together. Next, I put a little dab of glue on top of each knot to make sure that it stays in place. Now take your cord pieces and thread them through the top of your flower. I lined up the ends so that they staggered a little bit to give it a bit of interest. I tied the first knot about 12 centimeters or 5 inches from the end. Then tie another knot at the end of your cord and trim away any excess. And that's it, a beautiful leather bag charm. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I had so much fun making these bag charms. I think they're going to make really lovely gifts. But now I have to get busy making some more. Go and check out the pattern. They've got some other flowers to choose from in their range of bag charms. And do let me know if you have a go at making these. Tag me on Instagram at The Sewing Society. I'd love to see what you make. Please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already for some more sewing videos and tutorials like this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.